Stocks rocked and consumers shaken. But the president saying everything is just fine.
Anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction.
The GOP presidential candidate's painting a very different picture at the FBN debate.
The numbers just don't add up. We have the lowest percentage of Americans working today of any year since 1977. Median wages have stagnated.
Have regulations, I mean, come on, they're affecting everybody here, particularly our small businesses.
We are on the verge of being the first generation of Americans that leave our children worse off than ourselves.
In this country, people are concerned about their economic future.
How about Obamacare, a certified job killer?
Get our economy moving again and growing at a much higher rate.
Middle-class incomes have stagnated.
Middle class may notice it when they get to the cash register and everything is costing more money.
So who's got it right? Hi, everyone. I'm Jerry Willis in for Brenda Butner, and this is Bulls and Bears. The Bulls and Bears this week: Gary B. Smith, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Susie Welch and Chuck Rocha. Welcome all. Susie, consumers cutting back on spending last month, the Dow falling nearly 1,600 points so far this year, even Walmart closing stores. Is everything still okay?
You know, Jerry, I have to tell you, when I heard the president say this in the State of the Union, it literally took my breath away. I thought it was an Orwellian moment. It was sort of like the president standing up and saying, the sky is green. And everybody who thinks the sky is blue is peddling fiction, which is really sort of a veiled, semi-polite way of saying lying. I mean, it was sort of a, one of those moments where you think, everybody is crazy but you. And I turned around and said, did he actually say that? Look, we could sit here for the entire show and talk about statistics that prove that the economy is in trouble. You heard the candidates at the debate go through a whole slew of them. I could rattle them off, and I'm sure the panel will rattle them off. There are so many statistics that are worrisome. There are global tremors. There are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse happening in China that are coming at us, and it's worrisome. I mean, maybe not a recession, but definitely a worsening. But let me just, the irony of this is sort of what gets me, because later in his speech, the president said that we were deeply polarized, and he wanted to bridge the divide. He asked, the American people to help him bridge the divide. But when you sit there and you say people who have legitimate disagreements, and the economy is a place where we really do have legitimate disagreements about the direction it's going in, to say that they're peddling fiction is just to discount a whole wall of information.
Let me tell you what was super clear this week. The market selling off. The Dow down now 12% from its highs. All the indexes down and down dramatically. John Layfield, to you. What do you make of this? Is this telling us about where the economy is going next?
Yeah, I think so. I think the economy, look, the S&P has gone from 800 when President Obama was inaugurated to about 1,800 right now. He have had a huge dip, but most of that has been because of the Fed and the easy money. Look, giving President Obama credit for this economy, good or bad, is like giving Fred Flintstone credit for the cartoon. He's just a character in it. It just kind of happens around him. This wasn't a State of the Union. This was a state of denial. This is the weakest job report, the weakest recovery in history. Most recoveries, the average over 6 years, is a 27% growth in GDP. President Obama's is a 14%. Susie's right. You can pick stats on either side to show that we're either in depression or we are in a booming economic times. If you cherry pick your stats, the truth is in the middle. We've had a weak economy and the Fed is out of bullets.
One of the favorite numbers that the Democrats put out there, 5%. That's the unemployment rate. Gary B. Smith, is that the most important number out there? Is that the one we should all be paying attention to?
Well, it's the number that Obama always uses, Jerry. Whenever he comes back to touting his economic success, you can count on he will come up with 70 months of the greatest private sector job growth since George Washington. And of course, even that's flawed because he cherry picks it. If you remember, Obama's been in office more than 70 months. If you compare over the tenure of all the past presidents, he's way behind Reagan and he's way behind Clinton on job growth. And even if you like his numbers, to your point, Jerry, that labor force participation rate is the lowest it's been in 40 years. Look, people think about the economy in their own house. They think, One, am I making money? Nope. Median wages now are lower than they were in 2007. Two, do I have a job? We already talked about the labor force participation. People looking for jobs are dropping out of the workforce. Three, is my health worth any money? No, it's worth less than it was in 2007. In fact, home ownership has gone down in that time period. I'm struggling to find what the good news is here.
Chuck Rocha, here's a number that you probably haven't read in the newspaper, and it's called the Office Furniture Index. And guess what? People are ordering less office furniture. Is that a sign of the times? Do you think it's one of those numbers we should be paying attention to?
And here's something else you hadn't heard about. Breaking news, Chuck Rocha for the first time did not eat kale or go to a ballet. I went and bought me some stocks today. Gary B's going to be so happy. I'm so ginned up about this economy. I went and bought me some GM stock because I heard something about 5% earnings and 5% back. I'm not even sure what that means, but I know that that's a good thing. When President Obama said GM was alive and Osama bin Laden was dead, I think it meant something. I can cherry pick all you want and find something good to say about Obama and the economy. I don't think we're at where we need to be, but we're better off than where we were, but I think we still have a long way to go. I totally agree with the job growth and that there's been no real job income, but I think oil prices has brought a lot of us down, and I think that we have a lot further to go, and I think this election will be a real big result of where the American electorate is.
Jonas, are things better than they've been?
I don't think Gary's going to be psyched. He's been saying shout the Dow correctly recently. Anyway, I would like to say that anybody who, broadly speaking, says America is in decline is peddling fiction. Now, that doesn't mean the president's brilliant economic strategy, to John's point, is why the economy is on the uptick. But the bottom line is this myth that we're in decline led to a lot of bad investing decisions, a lot of bad bets peddled by Wall Street more than these candidates who almost have no choice but to peddle this fiction, that we're going to have inflation, that the U.S. dollar is going to collapse, that emerging markets are going to beat us, that China's beating us. The money placed on this declinism has destroyed more billions of dollars in the first dot-com crash when it came undone. Now, that said, where I think the president's been a little delusional is where we go from here. I don't think he set us up well for this continuing growth. We have a dangerous bubble collapsing, and there is no plan of action to fix it if oil continues down.
Well,
there is no game plan to stop the loss of debt any more than the real estate crash.
You can look at the last 10 years of economic growth, below 3%. 10 years of economic growth below 3%. Gary B. Smith, to you. That, to me, just spells a weak economy, a weak America, no savings, no growth in incomes for the average family. It's a disaster.
Well, it stinks, Jerry. And by the way, as they say in bridge, let's review the bidding. On Friday, after the market closed, by the way, the Atlanta Fed came out with their fourth quarter GDP estimate, 0.6%. That's anemic. On the bright side, let's review there. Chuck bought GM stock. Other than that, I don't even think Chuck could find anything good there. He tried to cherry pick. All he came up with, bin Laden's dead, GM's alive. Hallelujah. I don't think that's a lot to go on, Jerry.
Susie, last word here. Are you a buyer?
Look, the problem is that I'm a buyer of some stocks and not others because there are pockets of the economy that are very promising. They tend to be in the digital space. There is some excitement. There is some growth there. But really, regulation is choking many of the traditional businesses in America and entrepreneurs who want to start up businesses. And so you have to worry. You can't make a blanket statement, but things are not as rosy as the administration would like us all to believe.
Ah, you naysayers. All right. Thanks, guys. And Cavuto on Business in about 20 minutes from now.